behaviors addresses a theme that is central to global sustainable development. In particular, we'll reflect on driving gender inclusiveness and equality with a special focus on CSIR as a case study. This session is organized by CSIR National Institute of Science Communication and Policy Research, NISPER, in which we will be exploring important themes aligned with the UN Sustainable Development Goals. To begin our program, it is my pleasure to invite Dr. Geeta Vanirasam, Director of CSIR NISPER, to deliver the welcome address. Dr. Rasam is an accomplished scientist with a distinguished academic and professional journey, an alumni of Indian Institute of Science, Bengaluru. He pursued postdoctoral research at IGBMC, France, and the National Institute of Health, USA. With rich research experience spanning both academia and industry in new drug discovery, she has led several leadership roles, and her work reflects her commitment to advancing science not only through research but also by shaping policy and promoting effective science governance. Dr. Geeta Vanirasam.
Good afternoon. A warm welcome to everyone for this very important session on women and girls in science, driving gender inclusive innovation and making value. I hope I'm audible. Yes. Yeah. So I think the fact that we are having a session of this as a part of the UNGA science really shows the importance of the issues we are trying to address in this session. And I think it's a great privilege that CSIR NISPER has been given this anchor role of putting together this event, largely reflecting the role of NISPER, both in policy and science communication, and also in bringing forth the issues of women and girls in science. And this is a topic which has been of immense interest to me personally as well, even before being associated with CSIR. And I think as each and every woman who has taken up science is definitely a role model and very passionate about these issues. I think today we have an excellent lineup of various speakers who bring in the perspective of why is it important that we bring in driving gender inclusive innovation. So are we not happy with what's going on? That there is innovation happening today, but is there going to be a difference when you get what's going into that? So I think that fundamentally, yes, there is definitely a need for that, and that I think many of the speakers today will talk about their own experiences, talk about studies they have undertaken. So I think, as you mentioned, there are many SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals, which cover these aspects, which is gender equality, decent and economic growth, and reduced inequalities. So I think talking about India, I think India is a smart country, or even globally, more than 50% of the workforce is not integrated. You can never have a successful ecosystem. So the fact that women have to be included is a no-brainer for me. Because there are a lot of resources available, and even it doesn't make economic sense or a social sense that you are not providing opportunity to 50% of the workforce. And coming to science in India, there has always been an interest in science, and various statistics show that from Indian context, in school, girls are doing very well in science. In fact, they obtain the top ranks in the science fields. And even increasingly, we are seeing it in higher education. For example, CSIR does a nationally competitive exam for entering into PhD. You see the large participation of women, of girls wanting to take up science. So there is, if you look at the statistics, there's no dearth of women wanting to take up science. And if you see, these numbers show that 46% of women actually are taking up science, whether graduates and postgraduates. But then, when you look at the top leadership positions, it dwindles. You see that as you go higher up in the pipeline, you find them at graduates, PhDs, but then they constantly drop. So, why this happens? And I just want to share something. When I was a postdoctoral researcher at NIH in the US back in 2000s, we did this study there as a postdoctoral fellow. We did a study along the group, and we found that it's the same that what we call falling off the academic bandwagon. You see that women fall off as they start taking postdoctoral research and faculty positions and others, because it coincides with your biological law, and there have to be measures actually to retain the workforce. And while there are improvements we are seeing, but still sad to see that still there's a lot more to be done. And I think having sessions like this and really bringing it to attention to policy makers and to various, and this is, I think, relevant across the globe, not just in India. I think these are issues which are being faced by to a large extent in many countries, including the US and the Europe. So I think what we discussed today will be a role model not only for India but for the entire globe. And it's very nice that it's part of the United Nations thing. So to me, my perspective, I think one is to attract the women to this step, first step. And second is to retain them. And many times we forget about, one is we talk about measures to bring them to science. And I think at least in India, the statistics show that women participation is increasing. So now once they have come into science, how do you keep them in science? They ask them to take up leadership positions because it's less than 10% when you talk of leadership or awards or professional societies, the numbers dramatically fall. Having said that, I think my colleague Dr. Sandhya will talk about the CSIR case study. The last 10 years or 15 years, there has been a remarkable improvement. And we had the first women DG CSIR just 3 years back, and first women director of CSIR, I think, was Dr. Lakshmi Kantam from CSIR ICT. So it took us almost 70 years to get the first women director and 80 years to get the first women DG CSIR. But having made that initiative, I think now we will have more faster and growth. I hope that we will increase the amount of women representation. And within CSIR, we are seeing a lot of different directors and heads of divisions at CSIR labs and the various roles taking up. But it's not only restricted to CSIR. We are seeing a lot of people. And there have been various studies which have shown that the innovation is different and better when you have women and they bring in, and also many of the problems that are focused are also women specific, which may not be brought in. You not have even leading the research groups. So I think there are many barriers, but it is also important to come up with solutions. It's not enough just to talk about the barriers, but what are the steps that what are how do we address these challenges? And I think it's also important that young girls have role models and mentorship and also the most important is the ecosystem. When we talk of ecosystem, it's the work ecosystem and also the families. I think both are very important role to take because family support is very hard, and at the same time, the work ecosystem also should create a very conducive environment for the women to take up more and more challenging positions. And I think we are getting there, and I hope in the next few years that globally and in India we think really rapid strides in increasing the women at higher roles and responsibilities. And as I said, there's a lineup of excellent speakers who bring in their perspectives on these issues and how do we address these challenges. So again, with this, a warm welcome to each and every one of you who is joining us physically and online across the globe. And thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for the warm welcome and revealing the relevance of the session today. Now we have an overview of today's session from Dr. Ganesh Kumar, Chief Scientist at CSIR Institute. His area of expertise is in mathematical modeling, innovation diffusion, and experiment.
Excellencies, distinguished delegates, researchers, and my colleagues. Good afternoon, the dignitaries present here online and offline. And good morning to the delegates participating from overseas and abroad. And very heartfelt welcome from CSIR Institute to one and all to this UNJ 80 session of Science. It is an honor to give an overview of the session to this critical gathering during the 80th UNGA Science Summit 2025. It is a pivotal moment where we affirm that science must be inclusive, equitable, and representative of our voices. Today, we stand on the shoulders of the brilliant women, pioneers like Marie Curie, Catherine Johnson, Heather Lovelace, Kalpana Chawla, and countless others. But we also recognize that too many women and girls around the world are still waiting for the opportunity to participate fully in this scientific entrepreneurship. The theme Women and Girls in Science, as Dr. Rasam mentioned, driving gender inclusive innovation and breaking barriers, reminds us for our shared responsibility to dismantle the systemic barriers and exclude, and to build a future where all people, regardless of gender, have equal opportunity to shape and benefit from science and innovation. The UNGA Summit survey as an appropriate platform for discussing emerging issues and challenges related to women in STEM. I would just brief what we are going to discuss here in the upcoming session. I have 2-3 points in my mind which are very important and will be addressed in the following session. First, that from inspiration to aspirations, female scientists shaping the future. I think we know that visibility matters and representation matters. So across diverse domains, from eliminate science, eliminate science to biotechnology, and from marine research to aerospace, women are not only participating but also making significant and transformative contribution. They are leading. Yet, despite progress, as mentioned, Dr. Rasam, only around 30% of the global STEM workforce women are working, and at the leadership it is more lesser. So inspiration must translate into aspirations, and aspirations must be with opportunity, not barriers. For every young girl inspired by a science classes or a role model, we must ensure that she finds an environment that supports her growth with mentorship, funding policy, and institutional culture aligned through this inclusion. Then comes advocacy for gender sensitive policies and gender equality plans. So let us be clear, progress is not accidental. It is a policy driven process. So the gender sensitive policies are no longer optional, they are essential. And we will discuss some of the points here. Gender equality plans, bias aware hiring and promotion procedure, flexible work policies and recognizing caregiving responsibilities, and gender disaggregated data to track the target inequalities effectively. Uh, then the policy and advocacy is very, very important in this area, driving institutional challenges, changes for gender equality in STEM. So true, change requires more than inspiration, as I just mentioned. So it demands systems level transformation. We must embed equity and inclusion into our every layer of the science and innovation ecosystem, from research agenda and funding priorities to the national and international collaboration and general leadership of the movements. Policy should not only correct the past, it is very important, but build the future where innovation is driven by diverse minds solving complex global challenges together. So let us support the platform for the women and our forthcoming girl scientists in the area. And the fourth, very important, I think I see that I pointed that the changing world, embracing diversity in a new scientific era. The world is changing, no doubt, and science must evolve with it. The challenges of the era includes climate change, pandemics, food security, AI governance. Their demands interdisciplinary, intercultural, and gender diverse collaborations. So diversity is not a box to check. It is an engine to creativity, resilience, and progress. Gender inclusivity in STEM is not a charity; it is a necessity for solving the world's most pressing problem. So science is global and innovation is universal. So all these points are very important, but how these points and these issues could be can be addressed. So CSIR NISPER conducted a very interesting and very significant study, case studies. What are the status of women in CSIR at the national level as well as the institutional level? So I think we will discuss our colleague in the forthcoming session. It will detail in brief, comprehensively. So, what are the action plan? It will be discussed in the session. So I can say because the time is very short for all the sessions, slots are very limited. So colleagues and friends, the 21st century must be century where science belongs to everyone, where the talents of every girl in a rural village, somewhere else, every woman in university or lab, every young researcher questioning the status quo are not wasted but welcome. So I trust that all these points will be addressed in the upcoming session. Let this summit be remembered not just for the conversation we held, but the commitments we made and the action we took. And I think some of the action points will emerge from this deliberation. So let us break the barriers. Let us build the future together. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for setting the tone for the session, and this brings us to the end of the inaugural session. Next, we move on to the plenary session titled Gender Inclusive Innovation, Leveraging Diversity for Scientific Progress. This session will be chaired by Dr. Rajena Agarwal, an outstanding scientist at CSIR. She's the former director of CSIR, where her efforts to bridge science communication, policy research, and scientific innovation has been instrumental in advancing broader dialogues around science, technology, and policy. Her academic roots trace back to Kurukshetra University as a professor of chemistry and director, Women's Studies Research Center. She has worked in several well-known European labs. To name a few are Cambridge University as a Commonwealth Fellow, Trinity College Dublin, Ireland. I now hand over the session to Professor Agarwal.
Thank you, Dr. Kasturi. It's a great pleasure for me to be part of this science summit and the event which CSIR is hosting. First of all, I will say good morning, but I know it's afternoon there. Dr. Geeta Vani Raisam, Director CSIR NISPER, Dr. Akhilesh Gupta, Dr. Naresh Kumar, Dr. Sanjay Mishra, Dr. Bhavani Rao, Dr. Sridevi Annapurna Singh, and many which I can see on this on the screens, and all the delegates who are participating in this event. A very warm welcome. I truly appreciate the efforts of CSIR. For the last three UNGA Science Summits, CSIR is making a very concerted effort that diversity, inclusion, equity, all these things should be there. So, every time whenever the sessions have been planned, so these issues have been taken into mind. And this time I'm particularly happy that it is gender, which is the focus when it comes to diversity, inclusion, access. So heartiest congratulations to CSIR and NISPA team, those who have planned the session. I'm very happy that the gender has been included, in the focus. As Dr. Geeta Vani Raisam and Dr. Naresh have mentioned that when we look globally, it's only 30 to 35% women who are part of the STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, though we constitute 50% of the population. So that means this is a global issue of inequality of women in science. It's not a national issue or a regional issue, it's a global issue. So first if we agree to this, that there is an inequality. So this is the, a key point that we should understand, that the inequality exists. And when we recognize this and then we work on how to, dismantle the barriers that disproportionately harm the women to enter into the STEM workforce, and then how we can create an environment where they feel, they contribute, participate without fear and without discrimination or biases. So if we have that kind of ecosystem, I think the women I think I lost the connection for a while. Sometimes there is a question that why women are required. When we say science is neutral, so then why do we talk about why women, why a homogeneous group of men cannot serve the science and technology innovation in the same way? So why women? There are scientific evidence that when we have heterogeneous group where the women are also included, so gender diverse teams they bring different perspective, experiences, and needs. And this approach leads to better problem solving, fact-based decision making, and different responses. So, and this also brings up the issues of justice, ethics, and responsible governance into the system. But historically, when we look at, it has been observed that mainly homogeneous groups, particularly men, have been part of the research, and that lack the diversity, which leads to significant oversights and biases in research design, data collection, and resulting technologies, which are not women friendly. Whether it is the medical research or the designing part or the technology development part. So I think these are very important issues where gender diversity is very much required. And then the question comes, why there is gender disparity in STEM. There are lots of factors, some are visible, some are invisible. So we have to work on all the factors. When we look at the policies, generally we concentrate on the visible factors. Invisible factors are generally overlooked, and we do not, give due importance to invisible factors. But I think this is the time when people sit together, brainstorm, deliberate on these issues, that the invisible factors also come into the picture, and they also need lots of when we frame the policies, these factors should also be included. So I'm very happy that today in this session we have three accomplished speakers, Dr. Sanjay Mishra, Dr. Bhavani Rao, and Dr. Sandhya Wadikar. We'll listen to them because three of them are working in diverse fields, diverse areas. Dr. Sanjay Mishra, coming from if I will introduce him in a while. He has a very wide experience of academics, of administration, of policy formulation, for policy implementation. Dr. Bhavani Rao comes from the academics, and she comes from the social sciences also. She's representing the social sciences. So, gender is the issue where we are not working in the silos, like, science people separately and social sciences separately. And then there is Dr. Sandhya Vagdikar, who is into the R&D organization in CSIR, which is the largest scientific organization in the country. So these are three accomplished speakers we have today. We'll listen to them, and from their learnings, we will try to understand like what kind of efforts are being done, what kind of policy efforts are there in different areas. So first of all, I would like to invite Dr. Sanjay Kumar Mishra, who is a former senior advisor to Department of Biotechnology, Government of India. He has a vast experience in technology, in teaching, research, strategic planning, designing, and implementation of S&T policies, programs in areas of education, science, technology, innovation in STEM, including gender advancements. Dr. Mishra has been passionate about engaging youth, early career academics, women, industry, and not-for-profit organizations for partnership program with the government. So here I invite Dr. Sanjay Mishra to deliberate on this issue. Dr. Sanjay Kumar Mishra.
Okay. Good afternoon. Can I share my slides?
Yes, sir.
But I think that technically I'm not allowed. When I try to share, it says system doesn't allow. So I'll request the organizer to put up my slide, please.
Is somebody taking care
Yes,
of the slides? Yes.
Yes, system doesn't allow me. Okay. So good afternoon to everyone from India, and good morning to participants who have joined from US or from the Europe side. And I think the topic which has been given to me uh, for this session is advocating for gender sensitive policies, gender equality plans to promote equitable opportunities in research and innovation. So I think I'll, first of all, thanks to the organizers for giving me this opportunity to attend this 80th UNGA Science Summit 2025. And there's an August gathering which has come today. I'm sure there are many people who have already spoken about the various aspects of this particular topic, which I'm going to address. So first of all, next slide, please. The main idea which I will try to put forward to the audience today is that we need an imperative for institutional changes, institutional reforms, not only the individual policies or individual programs which has been in popular by the various organizations. In very simple terms, the problem, if you look at the problem even now, that persists gender gap in research and innovation, not only the STEM, but otherwise also. So problem persists despite our best efforts in last 2 or 3 decades of the intervention by the government, by the society, by the institutional level. Now, just to give you the, I think already the previous speakers have already pointed out the number of problems. For example, the basic issue is if we talk about equity in general, 50%, if you look at the data, if the 50% participation is from the women or gender, then approximately similar participation should be reflected in the education sector, in the work sector. And when I say in workforce, it should be at every level in workforce, not only at the level of assistant professor or scientist C at the entry level, but at the senior levels. But if you look at the data, globally, the average data is around 35% STEM graduates, and roughly in the workforce also is roughly 30 to 35%. The numbers may vary from country and from region and discipline wise. For example, in mathematics and engineering, you may find a lesser number compared to the biological sciences. So the numbers are bit, varying. However, the trend is very clear. The second point, which I will try to revise your memory. I think most of us who are listening this particular topic, we are aware of a classical phenomena called leaky pipe. Now, leaky pipe is nothing, just to give you again refresh your memories, that a pipe starts from the school education and goes to the higher education and then the workplace. In between, the pipe is leaking. That means if there are 100, girls are coming at class 10th level, some are lost to class to reach grade 12, and again some are lost to finish the graduation. Again, there are losses as you progress into the higher education sector, and same trend continues into the workplace sector. So this is the past, what we have been, what we know. However, things have changed a lot in last, I'll show you very quickly in the data that there has been a positive trend and positive changes happening across the sector. Now, what is new? Today, I would like to draw your attention that the government of India, the state government, the universities, other organizations, we have created several policies, programs, and schemes. Most of these schemes, if I can say, because I myself was involved in the Women in Science program in the DST, most of the schemes, not all, are related to providing them special scholarships, fellowships, and incentives like travel grants, those kind of things. But today I will try to argue that that part is done. That part has come to the plateau. And now the need of the hour is to come to the more of a policy level systemic changes, not the individual level. Of course, they should continue. But now the need of the hour is to have a systemic changes, more ecosystem reforms, rather than individual scholarships, fellowships, because they serve a purpose to a particular level. So the other issue which I will try to highlight is the mindset. I can see that the mindset in general has been that because women scientists or women students, they are the part of problem, and we need to fix by providing doing A, B, C, D, E, F, G. On the contrary, my argument will be that no, they are not a part of the problem. The ecosystem is the problem. The ecosystem need to be changed, need to be modified not themselves. That is the basic difference which I'll try to convince you on these 2 points. So when I say the solution and so problem is very clear that despite our best efforts, despite our DST, DBT, CSIR and various agencies have scholarships, still the number I can see is flat or plateau at around 29 to 35%. In some cases we have reached 50, but still that is a tough job to reach from 30% to 50%. Now the solution is which I'm saying that designing and implementing gender sensitive policies programs that create a level playing field for everyone by intervening the ecosystem by systemic changes, not so much in the individual. Next slide, please. And and again, I would like to reaffirm my previous Dr. Geeta Vani's and Nareshji's sentiments that it is not the issue or social equity or something good for the women. No, it is other way around. It is good for the organization. That's my second argument. It's not something that they need to be, it's a social justice that we need to help the women to come up the level. No, if an organization is not doing the policy changes to take the advantage of the talented women scientists or having the gender parity, we are at the loss at the organizational level, at a societal level, at a country level, we are losing. So because the talented human resource is there and we are unable to tap their talent for the benefit of it. That's my second argument. So the new approach, there are many things, there are many ways. My focus will be limited to this space. So what I was talking was in general sense, but now I will focus to some of the examples, and I'll give you some of the examples from Indian side and from the global side, and then I will try to convince that this is a new thing where we need to move forward. The first thing, the new approach which I was talking is the growing number of nations and organizations are adopting systemic approaches and what we call the gender equality plans, GEPs, or similar kind of whatever name should be there. The first and foremost gender equity plan at a systemic level, to the best of my knowledge, was started recently in UK, and which is called Athena Swan program, 2005 to 8, because the number of women scientists in UK has diminished to level of 5 to 10% in 2008 and 9. Committee was formed, scheme was launched, and this was, again I repeat, was not an individual women scientist driven or for them. It was for the universities and academic institutions to reform themselves, to adopt the women scientists, to recruit, retain, and promote them. So Athena Swan, I will say, is a milestone. That's one. In the SAGE program, which is the equivalent of the same program, which started in Australia, I think in 2015 or 17, after 10 years of successful demonstration of Athena Swan, Australian government also started. And then US government has also started its SEAC change program. Then Ireland has also started from Athena Swan, and Canada. On the top of that, UNESCO has already developed the toolkits for the gender equality and to improve the gender parity in the institutions. So that is already there. So these are I will say, the global initiatives. Now, all of them are talking about improving the systemic changes into the institutional level by changing the physical level, for the policy level changes, and at every level into the system. Next slide, please. Now I'll come to the Indian side. Now the data from India, I'm very happy that my previous speakers were, like Nareshji and Geeta ji was also saying, and Ranjana ji was saying that, yes, the number has increased. Now I was looking at the AISHE data from the Ministry of Education, and it clearly shows that some of the data I could find, some I could not find in the past. So I'm very happy to inform this August House that the PhD enrollment, which were about 50 lakhs in 2014-15, now is almost doubled. This is the kind, I'll say, which is a great achievement in the last 10 years, I'll say. The percentage of the women PIs, I've taken from the Department of Science and Technology. In 2001 to 2, there were only 13% women PIs were funded by the DST extramural project. But the latest data shows about increase from 13 to 18.6. It's increased. I'm not too happy with this increase, but there is increase. Of course, there is a scope for further increase, but I'm giving, because this is a hard thing to become a first PI, get a grant. And then similarly, the point which I wish to make from the three other data, assistant professor, associate professor, and professor, you can see number is higher. But if you see the trend, 42% are at the level of assistant professor. As you move up in the ladder to professor, it becomes roughly half, 25 to 27%, roughly. So that means that the pipeline, leaky pipeline issues is still there. As you progress into the career, the number reduces. Next slide, please. So this is the Indian scenario. Uh, this is such a topic. There are numerous solutions, numerous problems. We can talk all day. Now I'll focus at the government of India, the science ministries, all the department, DST, DBT, CSIR, ICR, all the department to have the women specific programs, to have certain schemes which promote women scientists. Now the two schemes which I wish to highlight, which I believe is a different platform, what I call the systemic reforms. One is the Gati program of the DST, and second is the Vigyan Jyoti program. Fortunately, I was also involved when the formation of these schemes were there. Now, this Gati program is Gender Advancements for Transforming Institutions, was started in 2020, and this doesn't support one individual women scientist or a fellowship. It supports only the universities and research labs to change themselves to adopt the women-friendly policies so that gender parity improves. And this has got 9 or 10, various, components. We'll see later on. And the Vigyan Jyoti again doesn't provide an individual scholarship to women or girls in the high school. Rather, it helps the various schools, Navodaya Vidyalaya school or other schools, to help and take support, provide support to the high school girls to study scientific subjects, science subject, but providing them all type of support. There are 9 components again, which has the both money, there is a mentorship, there is a role model. Whatever you can see in the literature, there are the barriers. This scheme was designed in such a way to provide at the school level. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. So Gati, very quickly, I'll point out again, because you can understand that, sorry, previous slide, Gati, just there are 5 points. Yes, Gati was based on 4 important pillars, and it is important to envisage those pillars. A data-driven audit, because every time, every institution will always say, the vice chancellor, the director, and the secretary, everybody always say that we need to promote the women in science. However, when the rhetoric need to be converted into actions, we need numbers, we need specific targets, and therefore this Gati has got what we call the data-driven audits. So when an institution participates, every institution has to mandatorily find out the data numbers at the initial level. Just like when you go to a doctor, first you have to do a pathology about your levels, and then you do the medicine, and then you find another pathological test. Similarly, there is a data-driven thing. So number 2 component of the Gati was mandatory goals. When you have a current reference level line, you have a target for 1 year, 2 year, 3 year to achieve to improve the gender parity. Third is the incentivizing. Everybody likes to be status quo. Change is very difficult to make, and therefore to support these changes, there were incentives in terms of the monetary support to the institutions. And last one is the leadership accountability. Head of the institution need to be responsible, take it care. It's not simply a tertiary program. The head, it has to become top down, and commitment must be from top to bottom. Next slide, please. So the Gati has got the much more wider impact. It was piloted with 30 institutions. I'm very happy that it was started. Now the report was already done, and that has made a lot of changes. Like when I was looking at about 10 universities, now most of the Gati institutions have got a separate page about how they are going to improve the policies and facilities to not only for recruit more women, but to retain them. At least there are cells, and there is a data-driven numbers where the problem, as Dr. Ranjana Agarwal pointed out, first you have to accept that. Now, when a vice chancellor or director of a lab knows this is the problem, in which department, in which unit, what are the numbers, it's easy to solve the problem, to solution. And so in summary, Gati was in action. The outcome was very successful. It has come up with certain suggestions. Now it has to need to be taken at the national level, but higher lesson. The broader impact, the work is directly related to the principles of gender equality. It promotes equality, inclusiveness in academia research. Now, summary, because of lack of time, I could not deliberate more about that. But my summary point is gender sensitive policies and gender equality plans. Because gender equality plan comes under the policy. Plan is very specific to the institution, and policy is a broader one. They are not just about the fairness. but they are about fostering innovation and unlocking our collective scientific potential. I mean, for example, as Ranjana ji also pointed out, that if there are 40 or to 50% of women going into higher education, but on the workforce, if you have only 16.8% in scientific one and 28%, where the rest is going? It is the national loss. It is the societal loss. That's the point I'm trying to make. It is not their individual loss. And therefore, the change in the mindset and change in the ecosystem is of utmost importance for the taking the advantage of the human resources. And not only that, in the end, because we are talking in UNGA, all these actions will come under to support the particular targets and the commitments in the UN. Number 4, which is related to the quality education, and goal number 5, gender equality, and number 9, which is building resilient infrastructure. So by doing such a systemic reforms, we are serving the UN aspirations as well in number of ways. So I think this is all. At the end, I will summarize with this one, that yes, the need of the hour to make the ecosystem change, not change in women's mindset, not changing, expecting them to change, but it is for us, for ecosystem, for institution to change. And for that, we need to work harder, and that will give much larger, much more leveraged impacts rather than what we have been doing in the past in a piecemeal way, which will affect only limited number of the women in science. Thank you very much. Next slide. Thank you, slide. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Dr. Sanjay Mishra. You have brought so many important points. And first of all, I would like to appreciate the programs of DST which you have highlighted and how they have made the impact. It's very important that not only the policy, but what kind of impact they bring, you have brought it very nicely. And also very encouraging slide on the increase in the number of women. When we go to the higher education system, you have shown the percentage of women professor is 27%. I think it's very, very encouraging. The other thing which
Right.
Dr. Geeta Vani Raisam also mentioned, the leadership positions now which we are seeing in India. There were times when, vice chancellor of a university, only women universities have women vice chancellor. It was very hard to see a women vice chancellor leading a general university.
Okay.
But now you see a big change. Jawaharlal Nehru University, one of the most premier institutions of India, is being led by women. So I think there is a positive change when we look at the gender perspective. And in coming years, the pipeline which you have showed 42% assistant professor to 27, I think in couple of years we will see these women will rise to. So that pipeline is very encouraging, ensuring that there is no leak in that. So that's the thing. Thank you so very much for bringing so important points. So our next speaker is Professor Bhavani Rao. She will be talking on from inspiration to aspiration, female scientists shaping the future. I would like to introduce her formally. She's the Dean of Social and Behavioral Science at Amrita Vishwa Vidyapeetham. She is also the Director of 2 research centers, Amrita Multimedia Applications Using Human-Computer Interactions, and the Center for Women Empowerment and Gender Equality. She is the UNESCO Chair on Gender Equality since 2016. We are honored to have you on this panel. Welcome, Professor Bhavani Rao. Hello. Yes, please.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It's a real pleasure and an honor to be here. Namaskaram to everybody. Good morning, good afternoon. Very, very special thanks to CSIR and also NISCIR for inviting me to speak at this very august gathering on a very, very important subject, and a subject very, very close to my heart. Namaskaram to Akhilesh Gupta sir, to Naresh sir, Geeta ma'am, Ranjana ma'am, Sanjay sir. Namaskaram to everybody. Yes, if I can just share my screen, then I can just let me check and see if I'm able to. Are you able to see my screen? Are you able to see my screen, ma'am? Okay, perfect. All right. So very wonderful topic, inspiration to aspirations. Allow me to also just introduce that I have a double master's in theoretical physics. So I come from a science background and then I moved to social sciences. So I understand a little bit of both sides of the world. And in some ways, we always are talking about women dropping off from the science streams, but sometimes dropping off can also lead to a good thing. Like you can do a lot of work to actually encourage women to stay on in scientific fields and really understand why they're, like sir said, why, and ma'am said, why is it so important to actually have women in the conversation, right? And so this is a lot of the work that we have done under the UNESCO chair is actually to kind of unpack this really large question that has been working on us. And to that effect, we've done some very interesting work along with Akhilesh Gupta sir and all. And some of these points have been already mentioned by all the previous speakers, but it's just there. And just the charts to just show you that there is, like ma'am said and like sir said, there is a progress and there is a positive movement, very slight, very mild, maybe not as fast as we would like it, but it's there. And we have already identified these pressure points and we have already spoken about it, but there is one really large point that is looming at us in our face, is that the biases that AI brings to the table. It is probably the most disruptive technology that we have, and we know now from a lot of red teaming and work that there is a very specific gender bias, and it is going to impact how women are going to be engaged in scientific research, what the outcomes are. And these are some things that we know, we anticipate, but we don't really know. So I think some of the main points to be added to these pressure points is really to understand that whole impact of how AI is going to change or impact some of these agendas.
Excuse me, ma'am. Dr. Rao,
Yeah.
could you please
Yeah.
use slides or slideshow?
It is on slideshow. I just got a message saying that you can't see my slides.
Full screen, please.
But we cannot see the slideshow.
We can see your slide, but it is not in the slide mode.
Yeah. It's a very
Not
tiny
in
box.
slide mode. Okay.
Hmm.
Because then
Yeah.
I'm sharing,
Full
maybe I,
screen.
okay.
Just click on it once and open it and then make it F5 in slideshow.
Are you able to see it now?
No, it's the same. It's the same.
On the keyboard.
Okay. So I'm clicking on the
Full
slideshow button
screen.
and yeah, nothing seen.
Otherwise,
Slideshow
maybe organizers have a copy, then they can.
I did send the organizers a copy. Maybe if they can help with it.
Okay, we'll open from here.
We are opening from
Maybe you
here.
can unshare your screen. Yeah.
Okay, till then I will use this, ma'am. And if you can unshare me, or you want me to, I'll stop sharing. Okay. Yeah, I can still speak without them. This is quite okay. And I think one of the, and what I will share with you is a little bit of the insights from our journey at Amrita, and what are the lessons that we have learned that we can share at the larger table. And part of these lessons come from working. If Sir was talking about a leaky pipeline, much of the work that I have done is at the well and the bore well stage. So it's what actually even feeds the water into the pipe. And so from a very grassroots level perspective, but also understanding how it flows, I would like to just share some of our learnings. If we can go to the third slide, please. So we have our institution is actually headed by a woman chancellor. Interestingly enough, you're able to hear me, right? And you can see the slides right now? Okay. Yes. So our chancellor, Amma, is female, and she's also somebody who's only studied till 4th grade. And in spite of that, she has been able to build an institution that is world class, because of her vision, and her vision being quite different in the sense that she actually brings a very strong female energy to the entire world of the whole academic structure. And I think this is something that really distinguishes us as a university, and it also sets a trend on how we do things. For example, one of the things that really distinguishes us is that at the core of all research at Amrita is that it should be driven by compassion. So it should solve real world problems. Research should be not a commercial activity, but a compassionate activity. So it is there to serve those in need. And I think this is something that really distinguishes us. Again, this is why you understand why it is important to have women leadership, because they can bring quite innovative approaches even into the way things are, which we take for granted. Can go to the next slide, please. Yes, and as a part of Amrita, we have a lot of our top management as women. And being Amma being ahead as a woman, she has made that space for a lot of women to be in top management. There is not a single discipline within the Amrita system that in some campus or the other does not have a woman who's either the HOD or so whether you're talking about mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, computing, social sciences, arts and humanities, management, any discipline that you take within the university system, some campus somewhere has a woman as the head of the department or a dean. And so that in itself brings a lot of richness to the conversation. And as Amrita, you can go to the next slide. We are ranked among the THE rankings. We in gender equality metrics, we are the top 14 in the world. There is no reason why we shouldn't be the top. It's a question of how we represent ourselves. But we also have the UNESCO chair that is focused on gender equality. Again, our approach is in a very different way, because it's driven by compassion. When we talk about gender equality, and it is rooted in inclusiveness and it's rooted in compassion, which means we look at the entire environment, like Dr. Sanjay was saying, not just one aspect of it, but the entire ecosystem. So we work with women all the way from very, very rural areas to the women who are at the top, at the pinnacle of their careers. And so we look at and we work with this entire demographic. If you can go next. Thank you. Yeah, so in India itself, we are, the university is present in more than 2,200 rural communities. The centers that I head, which is Amachi Labs and the Center for Women and Empowerment and Gender Equality, is active in 243 of those villages across 25 states. Not all the states, but in 25 states, we are very active. And we bring a very strong component of integrating technology and capacity building for women at the bottom of the pyramid. So if you're thinking of science, we are looking at science at its barest and the rawest on the ground. So examples of projects that we would do is to train women to monitor the quality of water at the household and source level. So they are learning how to use tools that what people who are actually trained professionals to monitor water quality, they use it themselves. And our research has shown that they're as good, if not better, and consistent in the way they're able to read and use technology, even if they don't have the education that people who are officially employed for these purposes have. So you can take technology, you can design technology for women at the grassroots and address some very, very severe problems that we face, and especially that women face. So engaging women in designing technology and being users of technology is at the core of a lot of what we do at Amachi Labs and the Center of Women Empowerment and Gender Equality. Can go next. Yes, and at the institutional level, that is in terms of our work we do at the grassroots level. We have a UNESCO chair that is right now in its third term. We have a center that is dedicated for research, policy advocacy, and grassroots projects, again, very specifically to women's empowerment, but cross-cutting all SDGs. We have had several projects that have been funded by the United Nations. Many projects that involve the green economy, the blue economy, and we were happy to share with you that which is not on the slide, but we actually hosted the gender equality and disability working groups under the C20 when India was heading the G20. So from that, we have drawn a lot of policy recommendations. We have over 3 lakh women that we have actually directly worked with at the grassroots level to build capacity. And all these projects have a very strong dose of science and technology that is involved. So any empowerment project has actually included science and included technology at the village level. Can go next. Yes, and this was the project that we have worked very closely with Akhilesh Gupta sir and the UNESCO. We have kind of moved away from thinking of the pipeline as a leaky pipeline, even though that's the most popular way of understanding the pathways of women in science. We kind of understood more of a braided river, because there are ways that people can leave but can also come back. And I personally am a good example of a braided river of leaving the mainstream sciences, but coming back to contribute to it in a slightly different way. And so it's not really a very non-linear path that women researchers follow, and they do follow flexible, divergent, convergent pathways. And so in our design of policies, we must also make sure that we support this kind of flexibility and this kind of movement. And therefore, there were many very interesting takeaways from the braided river, it's similar to what was already spoken before, so I will not go into those details. These are a lot of things that you already know. Can go next. We also started, and this is something that I'm very happy to share with you, the South Asia chapter of Women for Ethical AI. It is important for us as women to be a part of the conversation on how AI is built and how AI is used. We have missed out on the conversation over a lot of the other technology. But considering that AI is such a huge disruptor, it is very important that we onboard women very early in this conversation. So my recommendation would be a very strong recommendation to already create this pathway from the top down, from the government level itself, to make sure that already the United Nations is looking at it very strongly. The Women for Ethical AI is something that is supported by UNESCO. And main work streams that we have been focusing on in the South Asia region, because we have our own context nuances that we bring to the table, which is different from what the global conversation is about. So we look at research and innovation, policy advocacy, and also inclusion and equity. Can go next. Yeah, and this I was mentioning about the Civil 20, the gender equality group, and its recommendations specifically from a STEM perspective. If you look at it, I think most of these points were already spoken for by the previous speakers, to make the campuses and the work a safe environment, to have R&D budgets. Like sir was saying, you have to make it something that we address the entire environment as opposed to addressing actually the women. But I think both of them are equally, like sir said, we need to have this, but we also need to make sure that the environment is supportive of encouraging women to join and to stay on in science. Can go next. Okay, so one slide that I had actually introduced in my latest version is not there, but here are some specific takeaways that I would like to share from our work. One of them is, since we work so much in rural areas, science and women in science is not, like sir said, it's not an individual journey, it's a collective journey. And sometimes we really forget this collective part of it. If we are to strengthen and increase our numbers at top, yes, it's true, we have very few people in leadership, which is true for all leadership posts, there are much fewer. But to get enough women into those leadership posts, we have to work all the way at the bottom. And for us, all the way at the bottom is down to every girl, child, and every woman who's married and is staying in the village. This is bottom for us. How can we strengthen that bottom? True, you can say that you can have schools that are incentivized, but there are even more basic things. A lot of these women are actually people who have studied till 11th standard, 12th standard, maybe even the 10th standard, but they have married and they have no future where they are except for agriculture. But agriculture is a science too. If we can bring our science all the way down to the villages, if we can bring jobs in science down all the way to the villages, have we identified what jobs are there that actually require science at the village level? We haven't. We have yet identified what jobs are there in the government in science all the way from the village to district. We haven't. We have 33% of our reservation for jobs in the government that are supposed to go for the women. If you look into the data, a lot of them are peons, sweepers. We do fill the quota of the 33%, but they're not jobs in science. Can we reserve 33% of the jobs in science, in government for women? And then, of course, then push the industry to follow suit. But these are all things that we can do. And if we don't build a big enough base, we can't stand tall. And that's one of the things that as women, as I think it was Yolanda King that put it very beautifully, we can't become imitation men. The reason we are special and we bring our diversity is because we're inherently women. And to be able to do that, to be a woman is to take everybody along. This is our inherent nature. And so it is important that and it is also good for us because to create that base and to create that sisterhood supports us at the top. What happens to a lot of women who climb up any kind of a ladder in terms of profession and workplace, they become increasingly isolated. It's because we do not have structures that actually even support women at the top. One thing is rising. Once you are there, you really lack the support that will keep you there. This is another thing. The other very important point is if you really want to enable women in professional areas, science or otherwise, it is important that we don't make the same mistake of ignoring or not giving the attention that we need to give to the next generation, which is the children. The world is increasingly facing huge amount of mental health and almost all colleges across the world have very high incidence of mental health problems. This doesn't mean that women sacrifice their careers for it. What it means is that we need to create a greater support system. Traditionally, caregiving is not only the mother that does it. Oftentimes there's they say that it takes an entire village to raise a child. Where is that village? We've lost that larger support system that actually allows us to raise our children well and mental health. Therefore, again, this is something that did come back again in the G20 recommendations. One of the most important areas that we need to focus on is the care economy. How can we strengthen the care economy so that it supports women in their pathways in the future without risking the generations to come? And yeah, I think these are the main nuances that I would like to share with the community. This is really focused on what Dr. Sanjay said is about addressing the ecosystem. If we don't do some of these and we don't seriously take action on some of these, it would be a pipe dream for us to expect that there would be that much of a difference on getting women in science, or if we do, it will be at a very great cost elsewhere. And so I leave my thoughts with the audience. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you, Professor Bhavani Rao. It was such an enlightening talk, and the points you have shared, the efforts made by Amrita Vidyapeetham at the ground level, grassroots level, how you are engaging the women, rural women, in technology and science. It's very heartwarming. 2 points which you have brought out are very, very important. AI. You know, we have been talking about the digital divide, gender digital divide. So that was the issue which we were dealing at this point of time. Lots of debates were going on. But after AI, I think this digital divide is going to be, multiple fold. So and the best thing is that we have started addressing this issue in the very early phase when we are saying AI. So I think this is the right time that when the world is entering into the AI, we have started talking about including women into this. So it's very, very important, the AI issue which you have raised. And also connected with this, the issue which you have raised about rural women or the tribal women, the women who are not trained to practice science through education, but through experiential learning. They are doing a lot of thing to preserve nature, whether it is the water conservation or water or the waste management, the climate change, etc. They are doing it, unknowingly. They are not doing it from the science. They are not doing it for the science. They are doing it for the nature. And I really feel very happy when the government is appreciating their efforts now. When you look at the Padma awardees, we have seen Lakshmi Kuti Amma, who is a poison healer, or Rahi Bahi Popere, who is known as the seed mother, who is preserving the indigenous seeds. So I think now the system is also recognizing these women who are practicing science, but who are not trained into that. So I think AI can give these women also, the tribal women, the rural communities also, tools that how they can cross the language barriers, per se, or infrastructure, etc., etc. So very important points which you have raised, AI and including the masses at the ground level. So they should be also part of the mainstream. Thank you so very much for bringing so important points. And now we have the last talk of this session by Dr. Sandhya Vagdikar, who will be talking on gender inclusivity in STI, a case study of CSIR. To introduce Dr. Sandhya Vagdikar, she is a senior principal scientist at CSIR NISPER and has a long experience in the areas of STI policy, innovation studies, evaluation studies, contemporary issues on environment, etc. For last few years, she has been gender studies in STEM and conducted primary surveys on women in India's topmost R&D organizations like CSIR, DST, and DBT. She has undertaken several R&D projects on gender issues and has excellent record in publishing research papers, book chapters, and policy bulletins to her credit. So I invite Dr. Sandhya Vagdikar to present her views on gender inclusivity in STI. Dr. Sandhya.
Thank you so much. In fact, the gender studies that I've taken, is just because of you. You have been instrumental in pushing me to take these studies, and I really thank you for that. The first study that I took was under your guidance, and the same one I would be presenting today. The results of which I'll be presenting today, and along with you in the team, we had Dr. Praveen Sharma, who has recently superannuated. So we were a team of 3 people who took this study on mainstreaming gender in STEM. Next slide. This study was basically taken up during COVID times, that was 21-22 period. It was taken up for CSIR. We looked into the CSIR institutions and labs to see how where we stand in terms of gender inclusiveness. We did, basically it was more focused on a primary survey, and the survey was at 2 levels. We took up a survey where we involved individual women. We sent questionnaires and got replies from them, and then we had sent questionnaires to CSIR labs, where 34 labs. At that time, we had 38 labs, of which 34 labs had responded to our survey. And if we talk about the individual women as in S&T. 248 women had responded to the survey. Plus, we had added a perspective of ACSIR students under CSIR, where 334 girl students had responded to the survey, based on which I'll be presenting the results. Next slide, please. So, since the audience is from across the globe, I would like to begin with telling you a little bit of what CSIR is. It is the premier national R&D organization and largest publicly funded R&D organization in the country, with 37 labs currently, and 39 outreach centers, one innovation complex which has come up in Mumbai recently, and 3 units. It covers a wide spectrum of S&T areas, as you can see on the screen, and majorly the various areas for technology intervention have been for societal benefits, which include environment, health, drinking water, food, housing, energy, and we can go on. CSIR has been instrumental in taking up all these areas and giving their best. And it has been a pioneer of India's intellectual property movement, and also boosting up entrepreneurship to be operationalized desired mechanism. Next. So, before we come to what CSIR gender ratio is, I would like to tell you about overall about India, where the R&D personnel actively involved in R&D. I mean R&D for government institutions. Percent of women in 2021 was 16.3%, and industrial sector was doing very much better than the government institutions at 22.3%. And similar results we found when we took up this study for CSIR, where women S&T constituted about 16.1%. As I said, we had taken up this study, and since 34 labs had responded to a questionnaire, I would like to say that this 16.1% in 2021 was 16.1%. This may have changed a little bit, but I need to clarify that right away. And then when we took up this study, we found out that at higher levels, like many of you may not be knowing what the constitution of scientist and technology level is. Chief scientist at the highest level, and as you can see on the screen, scientists at the extreme right in the first bar chart is the lower level of scientists. Chief scientists were very low at maybe 8 or 8.5%, while median level was principal scientist and senior scientist, surpassing over 20% in this. Also in the technical staff, we could say that less than or about 20% were present, were women present in CSIR institutions then. Also, since I have mentioned that we had taken up ACSIR student study also, this data that the third bar chart says is basically a 10-year data from 2011 when ACSIR was formulated to 2021, 10-year data, where we had found out where student selections, how student selection had been during that 10 years. So in biological sciences, it was almost 50-50%. Whereas in engineering, it was 2/3 were male students and 1/3 were female students, which was not really, I should say, not bad, because in engineering, This is a PhD selection students that I'm talking about. So even if engineering in the engineering field, even if the students were not many girls, but still when it came to taking a PhD, almost 1/3 of these students in the engineering fields were female students. So it is a very good thing for the STEM areas in the country where we can have more girl students taking up having PhD degrees in engineering in the coming years. Next. Here I want to talk about the survey findings that we did. The first bar chart that is mentioned here about the projects that have been handled. This data was also procured from the institutions. So here we can say that in the biological sciences, although the women that were women scientists were at 18%. The sponsored projects amount to the women PIs was about 20%. But when we come to the number of sponsored projects, those was quite high. This was 5-year data that we had procured from the institutes, and where we can say that about 30 or 31% of the number of projects that were given to these biological sciences institutes were being handled by women. Same was for the in-house projects that CSIR sponsors in-house, where women had received less amount compared to the number of projects that they handled in biological sciences. And as you can see, even in physical sciences, number of projects that women PIs were able to bring in from sponsoring agencies was quite high, but the amount was a little less. Although in the physical sciences, number of women scientists were almost 25%. In the chemical sciences stream also, we have seen that it has been noteworthy that in chemical sciences institutions, only 15% were women, yet they have been able to get more number of projects, more amount than their strength in the chemical sciences. And engineering sciences field has done much more better. They women were 19%, but they have been able to almost get like more than 30% from the sponsoring agencies in terms of number also, and in terms of the amount that they have been able to get for their projects that they were handling as PIs. So this was the projects that we are talking about. But when we ask the women on the quality of work life and what they felt, the second on the right side of the screen, you can see the self-assessment that we tried to get from them, and we asked whether what was their perception on being promoted or not being promoted despite eligibility. Most of them were quite satisfied, but we can say that about 2/5 of the women were not satisfied with the promotions that they received. But importantly, when we asked about missing funding opportunities, because we can see that what happens is women have a dual burden, like Dr. Sanjay Mishra also talked about, when it comes to careers, they have missed out on the funding opportunities. Almost 3/5 of the women have said that they have missed out on funding opportunities because of lack of networking. They were not able to have good networks because of various reasons, and that is why they have missed out on the funding opportunities, or even more number of women had said that they had to work harder compared to their male colleagues. Or sometimes they also felt that they were not rewarded enough for the work that they have done. So these were the findings that came out from the survey that we conducted through these women. Then when we have to talk about the quality of work life, almost 41% of women respondents had to change their place of city or place of work after their marriage. So because women have to generally, it is the woman who has to sacrifice and move out from her original place to the place where the spouse is located and try to find for herself a new job or yeah. And then when we were conducting this survey, almost 82% women had children below 18 years of age that where children need proper caregiving, like Dr. Mishra mentioned. And 9% of these women also had to rear their children as single parents. Approximately 50% of the women had access to stress management programs. That means another 50% did not have access to stress management programs since they have a lot of stress because of various duties that they have to do. I think stress management programs are important for them. Then there are outstation experiences that I have mentioned in the second bar chart, and then whether we asked them whether how their contentment level was, and they are fairly satisfied with the job they are doing. Next. So in this study, we had several policy recommendations we had given where we had suggested that under corporate social responsibility, S&T parks for women can be set up so that training for skill enhancement and to promote women entrepreneurship can be taken up. I wouldn't say exactly, but CSIR Innovation Complex has come up recently in the beginning of this year. We had discussed about a dedicated portal that should be there for women so that students who want to interact with them, women scientists can also be brought about, and in 2024, a Swati portal was launched on the similar lines. Then, in our study, we had found out that women have to sometimes face sexual harassment, but when we asked about whether they have been able to report it, almost only 25% women said that they were able to report this. So another 75% women do not have the courage or probably the proper, I would say, necessary, more importantly, only the courage or confidence that they should have, they do not have. But now there is an introduction of the She Box, where women can register their complaints online also. There have to be, we have talked already about the stress management and capacity building programs and all of that. And of course, the other infrastructure facilities that should be available. So Government of India has recently launched a special initiative to provide crèche facilities for working women. Let us come to the last slide. Here I would like to end by saying that how important it is. We have already heard about leaderships having an important role to play when it comes to science. And I would like to say that former chief scientific advisor to the President of the European Union, Dr. Dave and Glover, he had said that we cannot expect to deliver scientific excellence if we are missing out on half of the talent pool, where we have already discussed a similar thing. But women must be at the decision-making table, leading labs, directing policies, and driving innovation. And since its inception in 1942, CSIR has had the privilege of being led by a woman director general since 2022. We have in CSIR several units and divisions where women are leading them. Another, in the last few years, we have had several women directors in CSIR. Presently, out of the 37 institutions, 5 are being headed by women, and I can proudly say that 2 consecutive women directors, NISPER has been able to have that privilege. We have one on the dais and one on the screen. So let me end my talk with quoting a former director of NSF, Cordovo. He had said that when women lead in STEM, we move beyond innovation, we create impact that's inclusive, sustainable, and global. Thank you so much for having the patience to listen to me. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Dr. Sandhya, for your presentation and also for the work which you have done, the primary survey. It definitely brought the gender perspective very strongly in CSIR. And this report has not only been appreciated by CSIR, in the last slide you have mentioned what kind of changes happened after that. I will not say the full credit to the report. The system is also, becoming gender sensitive, but I think that report played a very important role. But across the different departments and organizations, ministries, this report has been appreciated a lot. Thank you so very much. The point, because we all the time talk about, that there is a notable lack of technical and statistical framework and data policies. So you have, your survey brought that perspective very strongly. Thank you so very much. So we have a very limited time. Can I have 1 or 2 questions? I can see one comment, that is, I still miss seeing women as IIT directors. Very true. But again, a ray of hope is there, that IIT Chennai Gingibar campus, it has a women director. So, IIT campus, Dr. Preeti Agalyam, so she is there. So I think that change is there. Let's hope in next UNGA we will have an IIT director, women IIT director. I can't see any question. So looking at the time, I would like to summarize this. Very important points have come up. We have talked about the policies. We have talked about the different efforts going on at different levels, institutional level, policy level, at the ground level also. We have Dr. Akhilesh Gupta with us today. He will be chairing the next session. He has also put a lot of effort in the draft STI policy 2020. A special chapter has been included into that. So my heartiest congratulations to Dr. Gupta. He will be talking about it more. I will not take his time. But what I would like to conclude that as Dr. Sanjay Mishra has mentioned about the policies. So, and he has talked about like the Gati program. They have talked with, British Council to develop this whole program, taking the understanding from the international programs. But when I look at the South Asian countries, or, in Indian context, I think socio-cultural factors are also very important, which we should keep in mind. So here, top-driven policies are not going to make the full impact unless we have the bottom-up approach also. I always believe that to have this gender equality, we have a kind of 5-tier approach starting from the self. The women themselves have to be motivated, inspired, looking for their attitude towards themselves should be changed. And then come the family, because in Indian context, again I say South Asian context, family is the nucleus, and the women is supposed to be, looking after that family. So our household chores, etc., responsibilities, childbearing, rearing, everything is concentrated around that women responsibility, social, cultural values. So the house, the family also comes into the picture, and then comes the society, because society makes the norms, what women should do, what women should not do, what they can do, they cannot do. I think that becomes the segregation. So that the society, and third comes the, infrastructure, public systems, how friendly it is, and then the policies, which comes from the state, and how the policies are formulated and how they are implemented, executed, so that we have, a cumulative effect. And we are talking about the gender equality that will be in the true sense when at 5 levels we are working together, top down and bottom up. We can look for a society where STI innovations will have equal gender representation. So thank you very much for giving me the opportunity. I had a pleasure to interact with the accomplished speakers, and looking forward to listen to the second session. Thank you so very much. Thank you, Dr. Geeta.
Thank you.
And I think I should, yesterday, I got this news. We must congratulate Dr. Geetavani Raisam. She has been elected INSA Women Associate, if I'm correct. Dr. Geeta, congratulations.
Professor Agarwal, for the excellent steering of this plenary session and your thoughtful insights. Thank you, Dr. Mishra, Dr. Rao, and Dr. Sandhya for bringing in different facets of gender inclusion. It's time for the exciting panel discussion, which will be chaired by Dr. Akhilesh Gupta, a distinguished administrative scientist and former senior advisor at the Department of Science and Technology. He was the overall in charge of 5 important national missions of the country. He has led India's 5th STI policy formulation exercise. We have a truly impressive group of experts joining our panel today. I'll introduce them, but in interest of time, they'll be very brief. Lieutenant Commander Vartika Joshi, a distinguished Indian Navy veteran, has led the Navika Sagar Parikrama expedition, an unprecedented initiative by the Indian Navy, achieving the first ever circumnavigation of the globe by an all-female crew, inspiring women worldwide and extending India's diplomatic footprint. Dr. Nadia Ashilova, Director of the SI Davilov Institute for the History of Science and Technology, St. Petersburg branch, Russian Academy of Sciences, and the President of the Research Committee on Sociology of Science and Technology. Her research interests encompass various aspects of sociology and history of science and technology, gender sociology in particular. Dr. Sridevi Annapurna Singh, former director of CSIR, an accomplished food technologist who has worked extensively on both basic and applied aspects of food science. She has been chairperson, member of various task force and important national committees. Dr. Disha Ahuja, director at Ahuja Engineering Services Private Limited and managing director at Ahuja Green Technologies. She is engaged in biodegradable waste management and turnkey waste to biogas plants. Dr. Tahani Ali, an associate professor with the Regional Center for Food and Feed Egypt, and has a vast experience in food safety technology and nutrients, which aims to end all forms of hunger and malnutrition. I'll now hand over the session to Dr.
Thank you so much, Kasturi, for introducing the panelists and the peers. The advantage of talking at the end is that everything is spoken already, and there's nothing new that you can introduce at this stage. But still, this panel is very, I would say, a very distinguished panel. And before I invite panelists to speak one by one, I'm sorry, we have very limited time. Total time available to panel discussion is 35 minutes. And we have to be really very focused in our interventions. Let me begin by saying that, we talk about women equality. But I think it is not equality. I think women need equity. while there is so much of, so much to address in terms of, in terms of like, there are some historical and systemic issues that need to be, addressed, and also kind of the need to overcome so much of that, what's called barriers and other things that need to be, and therefore the equality alone will not able to address these issues. I'll tell you this, I think it has already been mentioned that we were making science and technology innovation policy, and we had extensive deliberation on different issues. The n number of issues related to gender. I don't want to talk all those things because then it will take a lot of time. But I will say there are issues which are global in nature, but there are issues and challenges which are very much India-centric. And so, in fact, data was presented. I'll give some data here. Globally, it was mentioned that 1/3 of scientists are women globally, but in India, our number is very suboptimal. It's about 18% or 19%, although there has been good progress done. So it is, we had to work extra. We had to make extra effort to bring to at least 1/3. There are countries where the number of women scientists are there as good as 50%. Some of the South American countries have 50% women. So, if you see the justice to women will be if you can give 50% equity, 50% at least share of science. But that is a long way to go. In fact, there are many issues that we have not as part of the. I have listed out those things and shared with the panel. I don't want to go into the details of those things. But there's one very important thing that, apart from the issues that have been mentioned, I, as Secretary of CSIR, have seen something in my own eyes. The kind of biases that exist in the system. Whenever you ask your people to submit a committee, and there's a very good chance that they will bring 95% men as members. So once I question them, why are you bringing all men in? They say there are no women available, competent women not available. So this is called, a very serious issue. It's called, I think it took some Matilda effect, where it says that you ignore somebody's contribution and say not significant. So we have investigated the reason for this. It's a very serious issue. It's a mindset issue. It's a cultural issue that goes into. I think since time is not much, I'm not going to deeper, but I will say, I always addition is that I always feel that it is men who will change the world. It is men who will change the ecosystem, not the women. Women have been fighting for their rights, but it will not change unless the men come forward and do it. Okay, let me start with the first panelist, Dr. Sridevi Alpuna. Since she has long experience working in CSIR. Let me start from a very important issue that has been already discussed, presented, is that there is a general bias in terms of recruitment, promotion, and recognition. All the three, even whenever she was heading, the cell or the award cell in CSIR. Not just promotion and recruitment, but award also has some surprises. So over to you, Dr. Sridevi and Puna, kindly give your views on this thing. As I said, we have very limited time, so in the first round, we will request you to give 3-minute intervention, and then I'll come back again in the next round. Over to you.
Yeah, thank you very much. And it's indeed an honor and pleasure to be part of the Science Summit 2025. A very good day to all. I will start by saying that most of the unpaid jobs in the world are carried out by women. And I happen to work for an institute called CSIR, Central Food Technological Research Institute, which is mainly committed to food technologies. And women by tradition have always been associated with food as well as nutrition and homemaking. So in that sense, I was fortunate to have a job and to be kind of nurtured by the institute. And however, when it came to projects, as the chair said, we women are not having too many mentors available or role models in other women, and because of which, and the cultural blind spot that is there, usually it is not very easy to have informal meetings or go for a cup of tea with men unless you know them from very long many years. And this is the same with collaborations also. So when it comes to funding, often we are left to ourselves, and by trial and failures, we have to learn how to defend our ideas and how to get the projects. Similarly, when it comes to promotions, again, the way you need to project yourself, you have to learn it the hard way. And many times it is also told that, you know, you are having a double salary and it is pocket money for you, therefore it's not as important as probably for a male colleague. I'm very happy to see that at least in CSIR, a lot of changes have happened, and many women have been encouraged. I myself have been mentored by many people across CSIR, and therefore was fortunate to have superannuated as the director of a lab. But again, coming to awards, earlier, because we were not aware that you have to apply and how to go about that process, which is right now it is changing. And I'm seeing many of my young colleagues, especially women, they are opting for the job, even if it is in a different place, and they are trying to make a career. They are looking out for the fellowships as well as going abroad. And India is changing that we have a lot of family support now. So somebody is substituting, even if there are little children to take care of. So in short, because of paucity of time, I can go on and on, but I would like to stop here.
Thank you. I think you brought up very important issue of unequal access to funding and resources. This is very important. It's happening everywhere, and again I will bring my own experience of working in CRD, where again I found that the projects, when they are being debated for consideration of funding, and very rightly you mentioned that men gang up, and they have so many opportunities in sitting in the lobby, in the lounges, outside the lounges, and decide on these things. Women have very limited access to these things. And this is a serious thing, because unless this is a chicken and egg issue, unless you make empowerment, you cannot bring equality or equity in the system. So this is just so I would like, in fact, Lieutenant Commander Ms. Subatika Joshi to come in, and then so I will request her to talk about these issues of unequal access to funding and resources available for women. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Akhilesh, and good afternoon, rather good evening to all the people out there and all the fellow panelists as well. First, let me say how grateful I am to be part of the Science Summit 2025. And I see this as a very amazing platform where both the men and women are sitting together and talking openly about the issues pertaining to and challenges that women face from time to time in STEM. And to your question specifically on access to laboratories and facilities, let me start by saying that today, as of today, I feel very privileged to be part of Climeworks, where female professionals accounting to more than 1/3 of our workforce are leading the world's largest direct air capture facility, trying to tackle climate crisis shoulder to shoulder with our male counterparts. And here we strongly believe that we make better decisions when both men and women sit together and talk about issues. Let me also tell you that here sitting in Iceland and encountering some of the very harsh weather conditions, I can also say for sure that inclusiveness in our organization is not simply an exercise that we need to tick off, but we are gradually trying to embed it into our work culture. Having said that, let me also admit that my personal journey of navigating my challenges in my career, it has not been a bed of roses, and it has taken me nearly 20 years of navigating my way through very different work environments to reach this phase. Recollecting some of my own memories, when I began my education as an aerospace engineer, and then picked up my career as a naval architect and later picked up sailing, ocean sailing as a sport. The opportunities for women at sea were far and few and very limited. At that point in time, women officers were primarily taking shore-based roles and were not really allowed to go out to the sea. While the dream of sailing or going on board ocean platforms remained just out of reach to me and to anybody else. And historically, if you look at examples, even from the age of sail, we see a lot of examples where women had to actually disguise as men just to get a place on a boat or a ship. So likewise was the case with me, with very few resources and very little access. I was the one who had to be bold enough to claim what I really wanted to do. And while this is exactly which sometimes, brings in a sense of outright confidence in women. And if you get lucky, then the society perceives it as, breaking stereotypes, where according to me, in reality, it's just a bare minimum benchmark that women is often seen to be fighting for. And globally, statistically, we all know that women still make up to only about 28% of the STEM workforce. That number in itself is a reminder that access is still not even, and many women do get left out of the labs, the ships, the boardrooms, where the real decisions are being made. So looking back at my own journey, I do see that women have been pushing boundaries for a while, but at the same time, men have also been trying to sort of learn to adapt to these shifts and these ever-changing dynamics. Today, I can proudly say that in 25 years in the Indian maritime history, women in the Navy are seen not just sail, but also command warships, take leadership positions at sea, which in itself is a remarkable shift within just a span of a generation. And my own journey reminds me that equal access to opportunities is not something which is merely about having a fair play. It's also about unleashing the innovative potential of a human being, which in itself is our birthright, right? And sometimes I do think that in order to get to that phase, you just have to be willing to get wet, literally and figuratively, and if you want to make a change happen, that is. So that's my take on this subject. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I think I mean, you brought up something very important. I think while working in such environment, I'm sure the issue of work-life balance is becoming very important because especially the women had to face some social barriers, and there are issues like, bringing up family and also the spouse getting transferred to some other place and then how women adjust to those issues. And there are many other, I think these are not India-centric matters, this is a global issue. And so I would like to invite Dr. Nadia from Russia. I know what are the experiences of your country? In India, it is very difficult to have work-life balance. I mean, we in government, especially, I mean, only for sake of that, every officer, every boss in India expect that, every woman should sit till, 6 o'clock and work. What about your country? Do you face similar kind of work-life balance and mobility issue of our women? What do you?
Dear colleagues, thank you a lot for the invitation to be today at the summit and to talk about some problems of women in education, science and technology. I present two organizations, first Research Committee, Sociology of Science and Technology of the International Zoological Association, and Institute for the History of Science and Technology of the Russian Academy of Sciences. That's why I'm supposed to talk today about some international trends and special features of Russian research and development sector. I guess nowadays two international publications are very important for analysis when we talk about women research career. And first of all, it's the chapter devoted to women in science of UNESCO Science Report towards 2030 with title, Is the Gender Gap Narrowing in Science and Engineering? The next one is publication 2022, UNESCO in Action for Gender Equality. Then the Global Education Monitoring Report published in May 2025, Women Lead for Learning. The Branded River, the Universe of Indian Women in Science that already was mentioned by Dr. Bhani Rao. And the book of abstract of International Zoological Association accepted for presentation at the 5th CSIR Forum of Sociology that organized in July in Rabat, Morocco this year. International trends today show that no country will be able to fully develop its potential without including women, half of the population. We can read in international statistical report at any publication that more women in science leads to better science. Women bring diversity and different perspectives to research efforts, and therefore they contribute to the construction of more reliable and effective knowledge. Countries, businesses, and institutions create an enable environment for women, increase their innovating capacity and competitiveness. The scientific endeavor benefits from the creativity of different perspectives and will be encouraged new solutions. And so women account for just available data. This figure masks a wide variation as both of national and regional levels. Moreover, in the last decades, extensive social science research has identified the organizational process that limit women access to certain disciplinary fields, and especially to leadership positions in science and technology. Russia demonstrates notable female participation in scientific research, with women comprising nearly 2/5 of the total research workplace, according to the recent data, 38.5%. This female participation rate exceeds the global average and positions Russia favorably in international comparison, ranking above countries such as the United Kingdom, Norway, and Germany. However, statistical analysis reveals systematic patterns of underrepresentation as career level advance. Among graduate students pursuing advanced degrees, women represent less than 1/3 of total students. Age distribution data provides additional insight into career progression patterns. Among young researchers under 55 years old, women comprise only 1/3 of researchers. In comparative international context, Russia presents a distinct statistical profile. While achieving above average baseline participation in research careers, the country demonstrates below average representation in senior academic position when compared to international academic membership averages. Also, Russian age distribution data clearly illustrates career interruption penalties. Women represent over 1/3 of researchers under 55, but less than 30% of those over 55, indicating significant mid-career attrition. This pattern aligns with childbearing years and caregiving responsibilities. The Russian academic system appears to particularly penalize career interruptions, as evidenced by dramatic underrepresentations of women in senior positions that typically require conditioned career advancement. The social science evidence has clearly pointed out of the issue that contribute to the situation, such as work-life conflict, availability of child and elderly care, the challenges faced by dual career couples, pay gap also for mothers in particular, as well as mobility-related obstacles due to family commitments. Science and technology policy should pay attention to these important questions and support a commitment to gender equality in diversity through funding, programming, and monitoring of progress, and introduce fellowships and grants to increase the representation of underrepresented groups. At the end, two initiatives from our side. First, maybe to publish summary report of this summit today in the international journal, and I kindly invite colleagues as a chief editor of Sociology of Science and Technology to organize such summary or prepare a special issue in future as we did before. And the second, to organize a special session at the 21st World Congress of Sociology of the International Sociological Association that will be held in 2027 in South Korea. Thank you very much, dear colleagues.
Yeah, this is very heartening to see that Russia is doing so well in terms of women equity. But despite that, you too face some challenges. In fact, in India, when we were formulating science and technology innovation policy, we did recommend something very, very, I would say, disruptive. And that was that, we should allow women to work from home. This was a very strong recommendation. Also have flexible timing shorter timings and timing of their choices. All that, we thought, and also we should have some kind of a different kind of allocation of work also. But I somehow, these things they look good at the recommendation level and very difficult to implementation. Thank you so much. I'll come back to you again on some other issue. Now, this brings to another important issue, I think, that is, which is faced by women, although now less compared to earlier, but they do have a hostile environment in the workplace. And there are cases of harassment. I was chief vigilance officer of PSC, and I do remember cases coming to me. And I personally felt that the ICC process that exists in the India different institution is not very, I would say, robust, because many women, they wanted to remain anonymous in their complaints. But the ICC process somehow, although in some cases online also, defeats this kind of purpose. So anyway, I'll bring Dr. Disha Ahuja. She is from present industry. So, she will have a different perspective compared to government people. How about the environment and the harassment issues at the industry level? And what are your experiences in this regard? And what kind of issues that you can flag at from the industry side? Over to you, Dr. Disha.
Yeah. Good evening, everybody. I'm really honored to be part of this panel, and I'm really happy that we're talking about important issues to bring women to the forefront. And it was really nice to hear some of the speakers from Amrita Vidyapeeth, as well as the speakers here. They are so eminent that I'm almost not sure why I am here. Having said that, this is where women need to find their voice, to stop degrading themselves, to advocate for themselves. Now, my career has been broken up into two different industry segments. The first was, predominant 11 years in US in a job in a biotech company. So what I felt there was there were very clear anti-harassment policies. Even when we were onboarded, there was training, where we were told that these laws exist and we can speak up. So I think this needs to happen in all countries. I think in India also, when I talk about, now that I'm back in India in the last 8-9 years, I have been having a different role because here I'm an entrepreneur leading my own business. So of course, my organization is very small, but when we talk about all the other organizations in India, the culture has changed and there are policies, there are HRs. My own friends who are in HR, we talk about these issues. One of the issues that does crop up is even though on paper these policies exist, the training is lacking. So not just women who need to be told to speak up, the men also need to be trained, that these are the consequences and people need to be held accountable. So women need to be given that safe environment where they can have anonymous reporting and they see that, there is accountability in the system. Having said that, I personally do feel that both my career in the US and in India, I feel that as a woman, in fact, I've had a lot of advantages, if I may say that, because when I was navigating the space, when I transitioned to India as an entrepreneur, initially I did feel that there is a lack of network or good mentors. But eventually along the path, I felt that we have to find, good network. So for example, today I was in a meeting of COVI, which is Confederation of Women Entrepreneurs. So all of these issues are discussed there, and this is women supporting other women, right? So it is true that still there is, difficulty in networking, and we tend not to go to late night networking meetings and things like that. But the landscape is changing now. That is not the only way women can network. When I came to India, I was part of, women startup program, which was instituted by Indian Institute of Management, which was a one-year program. It's still ongoing, where women entrepreneurs are encouraged and mentored, guided, and given funding. Subsequent to that, I was also part of Women in Energy program by Shell Foundation, because I'm in waste to energy. So this was a more focused program. So everywhere down the path, I felt that you connect the dots, and there is a lot of support. And now, as a some network. So we have a network called Clean Tech, women who are working in clean energy. So we have a WhatsApp group, we have meetings in different cities. So we are making sure that women get the support that they need. So I do feel that, a lot of the issues are being talked about and are being addressed. But ultimately, we need good role models. We need, I think in the beginning, Akhilesh ji talked about how people say that we are not able to find women to be on panels. So we talk about this very fiercely in our groups. And we say no more manels, which is men in panels. And we actually have a list of women working in science, women working in energy, women working in clean tech, and we have been publishing this on LinkedIn and other forums. And we have been sharing this actively with the organizations, which are looking for women to lead panels. So we have to speak for ourselves, we have to advocate for ourselves, and we need to have good role models so that we get the confidence to keep going. And when it comes to harassment also, we need to seek support, we need to speak up, and we need to support each other. And of course, organizations have to have mandatory policies to support the women as well.
These issues. Let me tell you, even at the level of academies, I'm fortunate to have been fellow of two academies and also associated with INSA. And I found that there are biases in terms of even election of fellows. And I have been part of several committees on this. And that brings some other questions also. For example, how do we bring both equality and equity in terms of creating new avenues and new opportunities and new ways of empowering women? I mean, we just started, I think somebody mentioned about Dr. Geeta Vani is part of a women associate group of INSA. This was started by us in INSA. Why? Because we found that the fellowship in INSA Academy is dominated, very strongly dominated by men. And so how leaders will grow, how leaders will come up, unless you empower them at the mid-level. See, the senior level will come next. So this is how INSA started Women Associates Fellowship, where men have no competition. So now we have 100 plus women in the country as part of it. So, there are other issues, and I would like now I'll invite panelists to react to these. For example, there is one very important element in the science, or component of science, is the field work. If we then see experimental work in the lab is, in fact, women are more focused on that. So, what are the safety issues when the women go onto the field, especially going forward to some inaccessible places? Okay, fine. So, whether anybody would like to speak on this, the challenges of field work and safety challenges, please raise your hand and I will invite. So, this is okay. Good. Disha, yeah, Dr. Disha.
Yeah. So speaking from my own experience, I'm in waste management and we need to go and meet customers, do field surveys where we look at, what is the landscape and what is the potential for such technologies. First tier cities, there is absolutely, I would say, no safety concern. But then when it comes to smaller places, yes, we have to think about safety. We have to think about timings. We have to make sure that, where we are going is, is not unknown to us. So other than sensitizing the society, which is happening at its own rate, I think we have to take the reins in our own control and make sure that we are aware of, the boundaries under which we do such visits. But we have to get out there and we have to do the job regardless.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, please continue. Yeah.
Yeah, so speaking from my experience, what I was trying to say is that even though this is a difficult space, where women in science and women in waste management is not that common, we have to be aware of our boundaries and, be cognizant of where we are going. But regardless, we have to do the job.
Yeah. Thank you. I think we would have loved to continue because this was becoming very interesting and I have so many questions left out. But I'm getting alert from the Secretariat that I have to stop here because they don't want us to talk too much. They think that more women talking these issues will create some imbalances. So I have a request that I should invite Dr. Ramaswamy. So you will invite. Okay, so my job is over. They say thank you very much. You're going to say thanks to all of you and to me. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Gupta, for conducting the session by raising those questions to the panelists. Thank you all panelists for your interventions. So that concludes our panel discussion. Before we conclude, it's my privilege to extend the brief vote of thanks. To begin with, I sincerely thank Dr. Ramaswamy Bansal and her team at CSIR staff for considering us suitable for the session and their constant guidance in making it a success. Our heartfelt thanks to Dr. Geetavani Raisen, Director CSIR for her encouragement and continuous support that ensured the smooth conduct of this event. We remain grateful to our former directors, Professor Vandana Agarwal and Professor Adyanta Venugopal, for their confidence in us when the session was conceptualized and their continued support in the journey. A special vote of gratitude to our chairs, speakers, and panelists for their insightful and valuable contribution which enriched today's deliberations. Thanks are also due to Dr. Charu Verma and her team for this IT support, Dr. Manish Mohan Gole for the social media outreach, Dr. Naresh Kumar, who has tirelessly convened and coordinated the session, and Dr. Sandhya for her meticulous planning and support. Last, but by no means least, we extend a warm thanks to all participants who have joined us online and offline. Your presence and engagement make this session meaningful.
Thank you.
So, on this
Audible?
Yes, you are audible, Rama.
Thank you so much. I'm really sorry for this technical glitch. I would like to thank CSIR for putting together this wonderful session today and for its excellent execution. With this, we have come to the end of our 6-day session of the Council of Scientific and Industrial Research, which was focused on CSR for Connect, Collaborate, Converge, and Convert for Global Sustainable Development, held at the 80th UN General Assembly Science Summit. Our event, comprising 6 scientific days, focused on some of the globally relevant sectors, aligned well with this year's Science Summit central theme called Science Within Planetary Boundaries. It briefly showcased CSR's S&T interventions and solutions contributing to the UN SDGs. The first thematic session, Shaping Infrastructure for Safer Tomorrow, focused on 2 topics: material monitoring and mitigation for safe and sustainable infrastructure, and climate resilient building and technologies.
revealing a clear path forward that is building resilient, low carbon infrastructure through green innovation and circular resource use. Powerful multi-stakeholder collaborations were called for. The path to a sustainable future is built today. At our second thematic session on emerging environmental challenges, we demonstrated scalable, science-driven solutions from advanced wastewater treatment to powerful biofuel technologies. CSR stands ready to leverage its expertise to partner with you. Together, we can translate this innovation into tangible results and create a more climate resilient world. Our third thematic session on exploring the ocean wasn't just a talk, it was a dive into the future. We explored everything from underwater robotics and ocean energy to amazing marine-derived products. The session highlighted our efforts towards driving sustainable ocean research, innovation, and technologies for a resilient blue economy. For a deep dive into the marine resources for sustainable development, a special session was held on the fourth day that showcased our technologies related to water purification and desalination, marine algal cultivation, downstream processing, and solar salt. CSIR is leading the innovations in membranes for water purification and desalinations, amongst many others. It is empowering the industry and communities through marine macroalgal solutions and sustainable salt and marine chemical technologies as far as this particular domain is concerned. See how CSR is leading the charge with sustainable research and technologies to build a resilient blue economy for India. The ocean's potential is enormous, it is limitless, and so is our innovation. Moving to our next session, the fifth thematic session on advanced and affordable medical devices, which elaborated on CSR's effort towards precision medicine, AI-enabled vision-based technologies, computational imaging for diagnostics, affordable assistive devices, and metrology for health and quality of life. CSR's innovations for advanced medical devices are shaping India's healthcare sector, making it smarter, affordable, safer, and equitable, most importantly. The sixth session, which was held earlier today, and all of us have had the chance to listen to it, discussed various aspects related to driving gender inclusive innovation, gender equality, breaking barriers. These included advocating gender sensitive policies, how female scientists are shaping the future. Also, an engaging panel discussion on STEM for a changing world highlighted various concerns and challenges and made suggestions to overcome these challenges. The session highlighted the importance of integrating inclusive practices that reflect the realities of our diverse world. CSR reaffirms its commitment to gender inclusive innovation and to driving equality in science. Let us bring together our best practices, knowledge, and efforts to break the barriers collectively. With this, our enlightening 6-day session has come to a close, but we consider this end as an exciting beginning of our long-term relationship with all our participants. Over the past 6 days, we have shared glimpses into CSIR's world-class developments. The discussions have confirmed that the solutions CSIR develops are the tools needed for global impact. This is our call to action. We invite our research peers, forward-thinking industries, and innovative startups to join us in implementing these accessible and effective technologies and for upscaling solutions that all of us have in our baskets together. Let's work together to turn the promise of today's science into tomorrow's reality. We look forward to embarking on this journey together with you. I take this opportunity to express our sincere gratitude to the Science Summit at the UNGA 80 Organizing Committee, especially to Mr. Diklan Kiran, Ms. Pilar Gomez, and their team for giving us these valuable opportunities and for all their technical support. We thank DGCSR and the esteemed members of our organizing committee for their invaluable guidance and advices. We are grateful to our institutes for conducting wonderful sessions. A big thank you to all the conveners, session chairs, and speakers. We greatly value your efforts and contributions. We thank all the attendees for their time and interest. We look forward to connecting with you offline. With this, we close our session. We will meet again during the 81st UN General Assembly Science Summit. Until then, please take care and stay safe. Thank you. Namaskar.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now you are invited for a cup of tea in the canteen.